Welcome to Vinnies. Vinnies talk, man. It's April 7th. It's a beautiful day to be alive. It's freezing outside. Welcome you guys to the podcast. We're here to talk for a few minutes, maybe a few hours. No, we'll see how it goes. No, we're here to talk about, man, the weather. We're here to talk about, what else are we here to talk about? Oh, yes, we're here to talk about the Titanic history. We will be having a special 110th year anniversary of the Titanic coming up in next week. We will be dropping that. I believe it's on the premiere list on my YouTube channel. Make sure you guys go ahead and like and subscribe to the YouTube if you haven't already. Um, Once again, we will be releasing the Titanic 110-year anniversary on April 14th, the day the Titanic hit the iceberg, and we go ahead and in depth and we talk about the Titanic and stuff like that. But today's podcast, I wanted to talk a little bit about the history of the Titanic, and I don't know if a lot of people remember that when people did board the Titanic. Um, a lot of people may have not known, maybe some of you have known, that majority of the people that, well, I could say more than half of the people that were on board of the Titanic were immigrants coming from one country to come to live a better life. And I just wanted to share a little story. Well, share some stories, especially the stuff that I was reading about it. It's very interesting to me to learn about the immigrants of the Titanic and the people that were on board. And I have some stuff that I wanted to read to you guys, and this story that I pulled up here, and it's very fascinating because more than half of the class liners under the White Star Line was in other countries. Okay, so this article reads: the Titanic's immigration to the United States. Well, the United States, I mean, from Belfast. Um, oh. The RMS Royal Mail Ship Titanic was early 20th century British luxury liner and the largest ship, reads, ever built at the time of her launching in 1912. The Titanic was one of three White Star Line company passenger ships of the Olympic class, the other two being the Olympic and the Britannic. We know great stories about her mother, well, the mothership and her sister in the ships of the Britannic, and we learned that a lot of these different stories, man, they touch our hearts in different ways. Passengers of the Titanic included the rich, a lot of people knew that, rich and middle class and poor immigrants. The ship's maiden voyage took her from the port of Southampton, where she launched from. So when I said Belfast is where the Titanic was built, not where she launched, but where she launched was in Southampton, England, to New York City in the United States. During the luxury liner's first voyage, however, she collided with an iceberg and sank April 15th of 1912. So what we're going to do here is when you guys tune in to the premiere on April 14th, the day of, when she did hit and she sank April 15th. But we're going to release the premiere on the 14th because that's when she hit. So check this out. Of over 2,200 passengers were on board when the ship sank. More than 1,500 died, making this one of the deadliest accidents at sea during peacetime. Construction of the RMS Titanic began in March 1909, just like I said, by Harland and Wolff, man, the great Harland and Wolff. Belfast Harbor in Northern Ireland. A massive scaffolding system called a Gantry was designed for the ship's construction by Sir William Arroy and Company and Co. The same company that built the Tower Bridge in London, England. The construction effort also required a powerful crane to be imported from Germany, one that could lift 200 tons of weight, 2,000 hull plates, and 3 million rivets. Can you imagine? Imagine this big ship, man. I mean, a lot of these people that were aboard the Titanic were on one of the probably greatest times of their lives. Little did they know that they were going to be, dealing with this terrible tragedy. The construction effort also required a powerful crane to be imported from Germany, one that could lift, like I said, one that could lift 200 tons and 3 million rivets. Wow. Which took 26 months to complete, which was finished. The Titanic was 882 feet long. That's a lot of feet, guys. 104 feet high from its keel to its bridge, and 92 feet wide. She had 9 decks, 16 primary compartments, 4 funnels, or smokestacks, as you would call it. A total weight of over 46,000 tons. 46,000 tons, man. The ship carried 20 lifeboats, which was more than 16, which were required by law because of the 15 watertight doors that were designed to limit the flooding of water. And we learned that we know that those doors, they worked for a little bit of time until the water came sinking in and no longer could stay afloat. Which was more than 16, which were required by law because of the 15 watertight doors that were designed to limit the flooding of water in case of a breach. The White Star Line Company declared the ship was designed to be unsinkable, and we know that it was not unsinkable. You know what I mean? It's crazy how they named it unsinkable, and that's what happens to the ship. However, the Titanic, to be unsinkable vessel, thus, even before it launched, the ship was given the unofficial title of the Unsinkable Titanic. I don't think they should have done that. I feel like they put blasphemy over the name. You know what I mean? The Titanic was also designed to be not only the largest, but the most luxurious ship in the history of luxury liners. The state-of-the-art ocean liner included 840 staterooms, and each came with electric lighting and heating, but no air conditioning. Wow. The Titanic was also one of the first to have onboard first-class passengers, and also electric elevators, libraries, and a gymnasium, a court for squash games, and a Turkish bath. Oh yeah, we learned about the Turkish bath. Very luxurious, these luxurious things, man. These people had can you imagine back in those days when we can only imagine they had it made, but such a crazy time and having all these things happening. And anyhow, there was a macaroni room for telegraph communications and telephones for passengers. They had telephones, man. How many years? This is over 110 years ago, and somehow they had telephones on the ship. They're imagine if they had cell phones, taking pictures and, doing all this stuff like that. I mean, can you only imagine? I don't know. That shit's crazy. They actually had, they had not that they had cell phones, but if they were to have cell phones, that would be crazy. And that time, even to have phones, that's crazy. Publications, however, all right, let me see what did I leave off here. They had 2 barbershops were available to everyone. So they had a barbershop where you can go get your hair cut, go get your hair did. Man, go get faded up. Back in those days, back in that time, people probably didn't get haircuts like that, but that's pretty cool. It says one of the most famous amenities aboard the Titanic was the grand staircase, as we may know in the James Cameron film with Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet when they stand by the stairs. it is very known as the Grand Staircase, um, which covered full 7 of the ship's 9 decks. The ship's accommodations came in 3 levels, which were first class, second class, third class, or the steerage. Where the Titanic was a luxury vessel, she was also designed to attract immigrants, since immigrants heading mostly to the United States were the majority of passengers on luxury liners at the time. So, like I said, we have in the story of the Titanic, a lot of people don't realize that, or maybe they've done their studies and they've done the research that um, more than half of the people on board the Titanic were trying to make a better life, moving from Southampton, England, out of that country to the coming to the States, coming to the United States in New York, and this big vessel, this big ship had attracted a majority of folks and people, and even the children, the mothers and fathers and grandfathers, and all these people decided just pick up their things and move across country to live a better life. And these ships, White Star Line Company, not only the Titanic, but like the Olympic liner, these luxurious liners were to attract immigrants so they could come to this country to live a better life. And what better way to do it to hop on board a great ship, man, as a Titanic. Honestly, I feel very sad, and just to know that it's been 110 years, and we lost a lot of people on board the Titanic. So yeah. But separate areas so here we go. Included mattresses, dining rooms, cabins, separate areas for smoking, reading, open deck space, and a social hall. Steerage passengers had food preparations prepared by cooks, where other ships, they would have to come with their own food. Bring your own food, man. You know what I'm saying? Bring your own food. So like they're saying, like, basically, like, some ships were required to tell people that they would have to bring their own food. Bring your own food, right? The Titanic was also oh wait, did we see that? Okay. I think we the Titanic. The Titanic's maiden voyage started on April 2nd, 19 with a series of dockings that occurred before the main voyage from Southampton to New York. Her journey started in Belfast, just like I named before. Belfast is where she was built by Harland Wolff, the great company of Harland Wolff. Belfast, Ireland, where a handful of passengers boarded on April 10th, and Southampton, England, over 900 passengers came aboard on the same day the ship reached. Cherbourg, France, where she picked up more than 270 additional passengers. Finally, the Titanic streamed to Queenstown in Southern Ireland, where another 120 people boarded on April 11th. Now, mind you guys, sometimes I get caught up and I lose my train of thought. That's just sometimes, I don't know. Maybe I think I'll be I'll be all right. I just get excited. You know what I mean? People boarded. The total passenger list at this point was estimated at 1,300 passengers and 918 crew members. So you got a lot of people on board, guys. Almost 1,000 just in crew. You got thousands and thousands of passengers, man. The passengers of the Titanic included 412 women, 112 children, 776 men, plus 22 famous passengers, including American tycoon John Jacob Astor and his wife Madeline. John Jacob Astor. I think I've heard of that name before. Sounds very I don't know. It sounds interesting though. As well as Margaret, the unsinkable Molly Brown. Hey, I know you guys know about Molly Brown, man. She portrays on the James Cameron film, The Titanic, she's definitely portrays Molly Brown in that film. There's several films for The Titanic, but that was definitely one of my favorite characters. Um, the designer and the architect of the Titanic, Mr. Thomas Andrews. Um, the designer, man, what a great designer. Um, only imagine knowing being uh, and then being up on the Titanic and witnessing everything that's about to go down. You know what I mean, man? To me, that's crazy. Being the man who designed the ship and knowing that at this point in time, as soon as they hit at that hour and being on that cold sea, I'm the one who created this. Like thinking in his mind, like he's the one who created the ship, and now sadly it's basically going to the ground, uh, not to the ground, but in the water, into the sea ground. It's definitely on the sea level ground. But knowing that happened, um, I can only imagine how he felt that he couldn't stop the water from coming in. But yeah, he was also a passenger, so he had to deal with it. But also another passenger along Thomas Andrews was a famous managing director. Well, they call him Mr. J. Bruce Ismay. Mr. Bruce Ismay was very known, and I think he was good friends with Captain Smith. I think they had a tight bond. Many may know that he kind of whistled his way up on a lifeboat. Um, was he really supposed to get on a lifeboat? Was he really supposed to be on a lifeboat? Only women and children were technically supposed to be on a lifeboat before men could actually get on the lifeboats. But Jay Bruce Ismay definitely was a famous person on board. Um, Another famous staffer was Violet Jessup. I believe um, we did a story in Violet. She's actually survived another White Star Line ship and a crash before. She survived both the Britannic collision and the Titanic, and as well as the Olympic suffered a collision with another ship. Can you imagine, dude? Man, I'm not really. I wouldn't know how to process that. I mean, going from being from one White Star Line ship and then traveling to the next ship and then having a collision on one ship and then coming to the Titanic, surviving the Titanic collision. It's just, man, dude, that's a lot of like mind fucking going on. Like, dude, like how did I survive this? Like, that's crazy. On April 14th at about 11:40 p.m., the Titanic spotted an iceberg and unsuccessfully attempted to avoid it. Now, mind you, supposedly people on board didn't have, uh, they couldn't see. They didn't have the right tools to see the iceberg. They didn't have um, cameras and goggles and all types of different scopes, binoculars. They didn't have. Supposedly there was, but I don't know if it's a spectacle or like they're just saying that they didn't have it, that they did have it. Um, but unfortunately, that's not what happened. The ship sideswiped the iceberg, and 5 watertight compartments were breached in the process. The ship was designed to stay afloat if four, mind you, 4 compartment doors were flooded. Now, when I studied and I looked at the Titanic, and I read the body language of Thomas Andrews, you know, and some of the movies that you do see are kind of crazy, man. To learn that 4 of the compartment doors could have survived all the water, the gallons and gallons, and all that water was just flowing in there. Um, Knowing the fact that it could have survived four, four fucking compartments flooded like that, you can only know that that ship was built for some that fucking ship was built for some shit to happen, but it wasn't built for such a tragedy of this magnificent like atrocity, man. Um, so the four compartment doors, it was solid, but unfortunately, it got to five, and it couldn't stay afloat. When the crew realized the ship was going to sink and that there weren't enough lifeboats for everyone, they began disorganized and evacuation. Now, many of the officers were helping, the people get on board the lifeboats, which I thought the officers did a pretty good job. Um, some of the officers were very um, not very nice. I mean, that's how they portrayed it in the movies. I'm not sure that's how they really were. Um, but I don't know. I think they did it. All in all, I think they did a really good job as far as like getting people on the boats and stuff. During ensuing chaos, a decision was made by the crew to put women and children first on the lifeboats. Often exclusively, in addition, many third-class passengers were trapped in the lower decks beyond the locked grades. Yes, I believe we seen this scene in the Titanic, the James Cameron Titanic, when they were trapped behind the gates down in the cellar, like down like all the way at the bottom of the ship, like they're saying the lower decks, and it was so hard for the people to get out of that water. It was just the water was just pouring in. People wanted to get their families, their kids, try to get them to safety, but the water was just pouring in. The guards didn't want to let them pass, so you have all this time to try to get out of your bunker or your bed, and knowing that the water is just coming in like so fast. How are we gonna get out? Like how are we gonna get out of here? And mind you, they still have their kids. They have their wives, their sons or daughters. They're mind you, they don't want to leave these people behind, their family. Um, it's just sad, talking about this, I'm thinking about it. But yeah, they were just locked behind those gates, and it was so hard for people to get through. There was flare shot in the air. Telegraphs were transmitted in a call for help, but no ships were close except for the USS California. Now, when I read this about the California, and I believe this was on a Night to Remember film. I think it's 1956 film of the Titanic. The ship, the USS California, was so close, guys, so close to the Titanic. And they're blowing off these freaking flares, the flare guns, and the fireworks are going up in the sky. I just don't understand why. How come it didn't see them? How come it didn't get to them in time? You know what I mean? It was so close, like less than a mile. I think it was less than a mile. I'm not quite sure if it was less than a mile, but from watching the movie and seeing how the distance between the Titanic and the Californian or the California was so close, it looked like it was a little bit of half of a mile, maybe less than that. I mean, it says that it didn't respond. Obviously, maybe it didn't see them, but I have a hard time believing that it didn't see them. And the USS Carpathia, which arrived too late. Oh, the Carpathia. We know the Carpathia took forever to get there. After the Titanic did sink, finally the Carpathia showed up. All right, let's see what we got here. Hey, what's up, Rosa? Ah. Mhm. And then what? Uh, okay. Not okay. Mhm. Uh, yeah. Yeah, I'm on the podcast. Can I call you back? All right. Bye. All right, we're gonna get back into this. Sorry, guys. We gotta take a important phone call here. All right. So I was continue reading this, and I think I've seen some. Didn't all the ships sink that were made by the same company that made no? Um, not the Britann. I think believe the Britannic, not the Olympic either. So let's get back into this, guys. Um, okay, many of the lifeboats were below capsis or cap acidity cap. We'll just say cap, and only 13 people were rescued from the water, whose temperature was 4 degrees Fahrenheit below freezing. The Titanic broke in half. We all know this. And sank in the early morning hours, April 15th, less than 3 hours after the collision. Only 700 people survived, including 75% of women, 50% of children, and only 19% of men. 62% of first class passengers, 43% of second class, 25 of steerage passengers survived. Notable survivors included Margaret Brown, Molly. We all know the wonderful Molly Brown, who insisted that her lifeboat turn around to pick up survivors from the water. And J. Bruce Ismay was accused of cowardice as a result of his survival and is from elite society. Thomas Andrews and John Jacob Esther were among over 1,500 passengers who died. The sinking of the Titanic had its consequences that were global in magnitude. As a result, the disaster, maritime safety, maritime safety was revolutionized worldwide. For instance, the International Convention of Safety of Life at Sea, the SOLAS Convention, was passed in 1914. The SOLAS Convention required lifeboat coverage in all ships and mandated a higher standard of safety procedures in the event of a disaster, including lifeboat drills. An ice patrol service called the International Ice Patrol was created 2 years after the Titanic sinking to help ships avoid icebergs. The White Star Line Company was subjected to massive liability claims totaling greater than $16 million. Wow. When you think about $16 million back in those days, it must have been a fucking shit ton back in those days. That amount of money. I mean, now $16 million is still a lot of fucking money now, but can you imagine how much $16 was worth back in 1912? Even in 1940? So much money. So much money. White Star Lines was eventually driven into bankruptcy and purchased by its rival, the Cunard Lines Company. The Titanic's disaster has also become the subject of numerous legends, book of films, documentaries, just like A Night to Remember, James Cameron, record-breaking Titanic in 1997. The Titanic was intended to be the crowning glory of the White Star Line, and insisted became the greatest peacetime disaster in the history of the company, history of luxury liners. The ships cost not only the lives of many rich people, but here we go again, but also many immigrants, plus the dreams many of their families had of building life in America. The only silver lining of this catastrophic was the maritime safety regulations underwent revolutionary, which endured to this day. Now, the people of the Titanic, which were a lot of rich people, we know that there was a lot of rich people on the Titanic, but I feel like there was a lot of rich people, but I feel like there was a lot more immigrants on the ship, people that were coming from Southampton um, to try to live a better life, right? Get real. Oh, they were trying to live a better life and come to America, to the United States, and almost did, but didn't because of the iceberg that sank the damn ship. You know, um, I really do believe that if there was more officers aboard the bridge that were working at the time, that could have prevented, you know, catastrophic events of like this. And just reading and still learning stuff and history about the ship, the Titanic, and like its past time. It's very interesting to me. Every year, I do anniversary. I'll do like a story or two about a survivor, which I'm going to be releasing next week. We're doing a 110th year anniversary. That's why today I just wanted to go over with just a little bit about the ship, a little bit about, you know, people didn't really know that there were a majority of immigrants that were on the Titanic. So not only are we praying for, the American families, but we're also praying for the immigrant families that try to come to this country, man, but didn't make it. And, we all bleed red, you know what I'm saying? So we don't really feed into too much of the cancel culture bullshit. I'm not with all that, you know what I'm saying? I don't do all that. Um, the wokeness and all this I don't understand it, dude. I don't know why people, feed into that shit. But reading that, like $16 million. I mean, back in those days, $16 million was a shit ton of money. I mean, not to say that it's not like a lot of money now, but I mean, there's millionaires now that probably look at that like, no, that ain't nothing now. But yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the Titanic, man. Um, it's what my YouTube channel um, is about. Half of it. I put a lot of passion into the ship. I'm really passionate about the Titanic. I love the story, the Titanic tributes, um, and this is the season of the Titanic, April, because she set sail a week ago. The second, and next week will be her day of death. Greatest ship that was ever made, man, by Harlan and Wolff, and we're definitely excited to release that 110th year anniversary. But I look at this as like an anniversary too. I mean, this is uh this is a day in the life, man. Vinny's talk, and we're talking about the Titanic. We're talking about the history of the Titanic. We're talking about the weather. We're getting into the podcast. Um, yes, sir. also wanted to go over um, all right. So I want to get you guys. Um, there's a lot of ships made by the White Star Line. Oh my God, so many. Britannic scrapped in 1903. The Germanic 1875 to 903 sold to Turkey, scrapped in 1950. Uh, Magnetic, Majestic. The Nomadic. The Nomadic, it says it's a tender, not only White Star Line vessel still existing. The Olympic was scrapped in 1935. And here we go, the mothership, the Titanic, sank on her maiden voyage after hitting an iceberg. Wow. I mean, learning about the White Star Line, um, in case you guys didn't know about the White Star Line, um, we'll talk about it a little bit. First of all, how's everybody doing today, man? It's April the 7th. It's a beautiful day, but it's not a beautiful day outside. I'm just saying it's a beautiful day to be alive. I'm thankful, man. It's almost Easter. What more do you want from me? It's Vinny D. It's probably fucking 30 degrees outside. It's not very warm, man. We haven't been having nice weather. It's kind of terrible. Um, I don't really like this weather. It kind of makes you feel down. Like I said, when the weather's not, we're not good. So I'm going to read to you a little bit about the Titanic and the history of the White Star Line, the company that made the Titanic. The history of the White Star Line. At the turn of the 20th century, major advances in transatlantic travel were being made. In 1868, Thomas Ismay purchased the bankrupt White Star Line Shipping Company. Ismay decided to focus on providing shipping services in the northern Atlantic. This spurred competition between shipping lines. White Star Line's greatest competition was I don't know how to say this. Cunard Line. At the time was known as most respected in the world. It was the first to introduce electric lighting and wireless communication on board. When White Star Line launched its first ship, the Oceanic Ocean. In 1870, Cunard Lines already had 2 dozen passengers on cargo vessels and held blue ribbon. As early as 1840, it held blue ribbon when it shipped the Britannia, and the blue ribbon. The blue ribbon was an honor for ships and allowed the ship that achieved the fastest crossing Atlantic to fly a blue pennant from her mast. It was a matter of a great prestige for her shipping line that held the blue ship. Blue ribbon was passed among different companies, all British owned until 1877. In 1902, another blow to the shipping pride of Britain occurred when J.P. Morgan bought the White Star Line for $32 million. JP, is this JP Morgan Chase? Is that what we're talking about here? $32 million. So 32 million is a lot of money, man. Um, the shipping line received 2.6 million in exchange that the ships could anytime be used for the Royal Navy carry royal mail. Wow. There's so much stuff, guys. Oh man. When I look outside, I see that it looks like rain, but it also looks like it's snowing. Only imagine if there was snow when people were, and then sinking in the middle of the ocean. Now that's fucked up. That's not good. So we talked a little bit about the Titanic and the history, a little bit about White Star Line, and we are going to release the 110th year anniversary special of the Titanic next week, guys. So stay tuned for that, man. We're very excited. Um, as I keep turning my head to the left, I keep seeing the clouds are just very. It's just very cloudy. It's not a very nice day today. So it's not very. It's not the best day out there. You know what I mean? Um, we're almost in the middle of April. We're almost to Easter. Um, everyone excited about Easter? What is everyone doing for Easter? And what do you like to eat? What does your family like to make? I'm Italian, so my mom and my family are always making pasta or lasagna, stuff like that. Um, a lot of different food, man. We eat a lot of different food, a lot of baked goods. A lot of people ask me, "Oh, how do you guys make homemade sauce? You like the sauce? We love the homemade Italian gravy. I think some of my favorite dishes, spaghetti, lasagna. On Easter, we eat lasagna or baked mustacholi. You know what I'm saying? Baked ravioli. What I haven't had in a long time is some good ziti. Baked ziti. So Easter's around the corner. Um, it's time to smoke a little something for your boy. Smoke a little something for your boy, Vinny. First of all, if you guys are just joining the podcast, it's your boy, man. We're live on Vinny's Talk. 40 minutes in, we talked about the Titanic a little bit, about White Star Line, and how we're releasing 110th year anniversary. We do it every year. Pay tribute to the Titanic and its vast glory. It's going to be memorable. Right now, we're talking a little bit about it too. So it's amazing how many ships that there were um, made in those times, and how much manpower it took to make those ships. Because honestly, I mean, we could spectate and we could look and see about other ships that were made, but like, I feel like if they had built another ship like the Titanic now, it would be so hard. I mean, I know I had read an article about saying that they were going to create something similar to the Titanic, like the Titanic 2, and they were going to build it just like the Titanic. That should be crazy. Because building the Titanic and then going on that voyage, like it sailed that same path, on the Atlantic Ocean. I feel like you would only, man, dude. There's so much technology out there today, though, guys. Like, think of the GPS signals and the satellites. I feel like they wouldn't have a problem. The the shipping and figuring out where icebergs are at now, they probably wouldn't have a problem locating one or trying to getting away from them. They probably wouldn't even come close to an iceberg the way our technology is today. But I think that would be pretty amazing if they could create another ship like the Titanic. I mean, they're probably not going to get close to like how it looked, but when I seen these pictures of the supposedly that they're going to build another ship just like it, man, I was kind of blown away by how close, how um, I mean, it looked just like it, dude. Let's see here. Let me see if I can look this up. I want to to I can't believe they're talking about actually making this. Listen to this. The Titanic 2 will make its maiden voyage from Dubai to Southampton in 2022, after which it will reenact the exact same travel plan as the original ship sailing from what? No way. I gotta read this. We're gonna read this to you guys. Making its maiden voyage from Dubai to Southampton in 2022, in which it will reenact the exact same travel plan as the original ship, sailing from Southampton to New York, hopefully bypassing icebergs and avoiding movie inspiring sinking. What the fuck? The Titanic 2, which is functionally replica of its ill-fated predecessor, will make its maiden voyage. Now, reading this is crazy because you can only think that if that's true, right? If that's true, guys, that actually happens. I mean, I feel like you would almost have to hit the iceberg. Not saying that it's good to or should, but like that's crazy, dude, that they would actually attempt to do that. I don't know how accurate that is. Reading that article though, some articles I do believe are accurate, but some you kind of gotta wonder. You gotta wonder, you know what I mean? About how true they are. Or when I read some articles, I'm like, I'm not sure if I believe that. But it's crazy. It's crazy to know about that if they're creating a new ship, right? That looks like the Titanic. Man, that's crazy. I mean, the Grand Staircase looks exactly like it. I know they're coming out with a video game. However, the disaster which will befell the original ship in the icy Atlantic has cast an ominous omen over the Titanic 2. Is for the exact reason that some technical specifications have been changed in order to provide passengers with peace of mind. While the replica will feature much of the same dated decor as the Titanic, safety measures and navigational instruments on board are said to be state of the art. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see, guys. It's interesting though. Titanic. The Titanic too. What is this here? If you guys are just joining the podcast, man, you guys are on Vinnies Talk, talking about the Titanic, enjoying our time smoking a little bit here. We talked a little bit about the weather. There's one thing I could take away that's one thing when I look outside that looks good, guys, is the grass. It's starting to look really green. Probably think I probably think it looks like we're gonna cut grass in the next maybe after Easter. But they're already out. I see the landscapers are already out with their blowers and shit. I mean, blowing freaking leaves around. That's all they're doing is blowing fucking leaves. Like, what are you blowing leaves in my yard for? You know what I mean? Like, there's no grass. I mean, the grass is getting warmer, but like, you're like blowing leaves. I mean, my neighbors, they're blowing the leaves in my yard. I'm like, what's going on here, guys? Oh man. Let's see here. I just want to read off some of these survivor stories. People that survived. Was aboard the Titanic. Passed away. Survivor. Her name isn't it her name. His name was Mr. Ernest Frederick Allen, guys. And what is he? And read a little bit about him. He was born Friday, the 10th of February, 1888, in London, England. He was age 24. He was the son of John James Allen from 1847 to 1921, a general labor originally from Jersey and Channel Islands, and Sophia Blades, Mia Foster, London native. They had been married, so this is his wife, and they had been married in 1884. His mother had previously marriage. Let's see here. Ernest first appears on 1881. Says living in Albert Street. The family later moved to his father's birthplace in Jersey. This guy was aboard the Titanic. When he signed on the Titanic on April 6th, 1912, Allen gave his address as 9 Short Street. He normally worked as a fireman, but on the Titanic, he was employed as a trimmer. As such, he received $10 per month. He had previously served on the Olympic and also serving aboard as a lift steward was his nephew Frederick. Later accounts suggest that Ernest, at the time of the disaster, went below deck searching for his nephew, but in vain. Ernest survived the sinking, in which precise boat is unclear. He apparently escaped while Percival Blake, who stated that he had left in the last of the lifeboats. He was rescued by the Carpathia and returned home from New York. Wow. This guy, man. A lot of people on the ship, guys. A lot of people. A lot of stories. I'm just Miss Leah. We got Leah. Leah was born in Poland. Says she was a daughter of Morris Rosen and his wife Annie, who were married in 1875. What was she doing on the ship? What was she doing? Wow. A lot of different stories on the Titanic, a lot of first class passengers. Another passenger who had passed away was Malvina. We did a story about Malvina. Uh, well, that's what she was known as. Miss Elizabeth Gladys Dean, also known as Melvina. Melvina was only a few months old when she, her parents, and her brother boarded the Titanic in Southampton. Now, they were immigrating to Kansas, where her father had high hopes of opening a tobacco shop. So, mind you guys, a lot of these people really had hopes to not only go to New York, but go to several different states and try to make a better life. You know what I mean? Like, she was, he planned on to open up a tobacco shop. Her mother, brother, Malvina were the only ones of her family to survive to be rescued. Malvina was the last remaining survivor and passed away on May 31st, 2009, at the age of 97. God bless her. I believe we did a special broadcast last year about Malvina. These are just little short ones. Like I was reading some other ones that were really long that were just a lot of different information. Violet Jessup was a stewardess aboard the Titanic and a nurse. She was one of the survivors of the Titanic. She also was well known for surviving. Um, Violet was also very well known for surviving the Britannic um, in 1916, the cistern ship to the Titanic. Violet was also survived an earlier fiasco in 1911 when she was aboard the RMS Olympic. That's the cistern ship to the Titanic. When it collided with another ship, she passed away on May 5th, 1971, and congestive heart failure. We say a prayer for Malvina. We say a prayer for Violet Jessup here. The Titanic, definitely a survivor. Um, we're just going over some survivors, a little bit about their stories. And you guys can check out all my cool videos on my YouTube channel. And don't forget to tune in to next week's 110th year anniversary, where we talk about the story, also about the Titanic. We're talking about the Titanic. This is Titanic week. You know what I mean? This is Titanic week, guys. Um, we start now and we go all the way into next week. So we got 2 weeks. Next week we'll be premiere that the anniversary. Lillian Asplund was the last Swedish American survivor of the sinking of the Titanic. She was 5 years old at the time. She had actual memories of the sinking. Wow. So this woman had actual memories of the sinking. Can you only imagine, thinking about that, over and over again, about having these memories and going back to that day that it happened. So reading this is interesting, but it's sad too. It says her family were also third-class passengers where they boarded the Titanic on April 10th, 1912. It says she remembered that the Titanic was very big. Oh, yes, indeed it was. And had been freshly painted. She reportedly said that she did not like the smell of the paint. Lillian passed away, it says May 6th, 2006, at the age of 99. Wow, not that long ago. It's a long time. 99 years old, dude. Whew. A lot of these people lived good lives after such a horrible tragedy, right? Barbara Joyce Dayton West was the second to the last remaining living survivor of the sinking of the Titanic. Her parents, Barbara, a sister, and one on the way, were immigrating to the United States to begin a new life. When the Titanic hit the iceberg, Barbara was only 10 months old when she was on board the ship. Her mother, sister, Barbara were only ones to survive. in the family. Her father's body was never identified. If it had been found, Barbara died October 6, 2007 at the age of 96 years old. God bless you, Barbara. Definitely an interesting, crazy stories to read, guys, on this page about some of the very last survivors. And it's crazy. Looking at these percentages too. First class number aboard 329. Number of survivors first class 199. It even tells you the percentage right here for the first class 60.5%. Numbers lost 130. Percentage lost 39.5%. First class passengers lost. Whew, that's very touching. Second class 285. Number of survivors 119. The percentage survived 41.7%. Numbers lost 166. 58.3 percentage lost. Third class 710. 174 survivors. 24.5% survived. 536 numbers lost and 75.5% lost. Wow. And then we go over the crew, 899 souls on board. The number of crew that survived was 214. So that means 23.8% crew members survived. And the numbers that we lost was 685 and 76.2% lost. So let's go with the total number aboard. 2,223 people aboard the Titanic. 706 survivors, 31.8% survived. It's not even half, guys. 31% is not even close to it. It's a little bit more than a quarter, but that's just fucking crazy reading this. Number lost, 1,517. Percentage lost, way more than half, 68.2% lost. So that means more than half of the people on the Titanic had gone into the cold sea, into the cold ocean. And we say prayers. That's why we bring these podcasts to you guys. We talk about, the history about it. We talk about the survivors about it. Under the command of Edward Smith, the ship leave Southampton. A sad story with 224 passengers aboard, including some of the wealthiest people in the world, as well as hundreds of poor immigrants from Europe seeking new life in North America. So many people, so much life, man. The ship had advanced safety features, but there were not enough lifeboats. So it all comes back to the shortage of lifeboats. Could you have done something better? Could you have not? Can you have made a way that lifeboats could be, available to more people? But the designer of the ship, wanted to make sure the ship was built correct way. And I've heard stories that they didn't want, I don't think this is true though, but I've heard stories that they wanted the ship to have less lifeboats because they wanted the Titanic to move faster. They wanted the ship to have anything that weighed down the ship, right? Or made it so it wouldn't move as fast. And I don't think this is true, but I've heard stories and I've read several articles about this saying that the reason why there was not so many lifeboats is because they wanted the ship to move fast. But I don't think that's very accurate. But I have to share it because I've read articles about it. And just hopping off that subject for a little bit is because that just brought to my attention about like how crazy it is for not to think about that safety. Especially, you're in the water, you're in this big Atlantic Ocean sea, and you don't have enough lifeboats, guys. I mean, that's why in several years they decided to go involved and take initiative to make sure every major ship cruise line had the right amount of lifeboats. So just reading that was crazy. Reading this story, it says the sad story. 4 days into the crossing, and about 373 miles south of Newfoundland, she hit iceberg at 11:40 p.m. Ship's time. The glancing collision caused the Titanic's hull plates to buckle inwards along her starboard side. All right, if you guys don't know about the starboard side, that's the right side of the ship, y'all. You know what I'm saying? If you guys are not tuned to ship time and ship talk, that's just how we do it on Vinnies Talk. You know what I mean? Anyways, so it says she hit on her starboard side and opened 5 of her 16 watertight compartments to the sea. Man, that's sad, dude. So the water's just pouring in, guys. It's pouring in, right? The ship gradually filled with water. Meanwhile, passengers and some crew members were evacuated in lifeboats, many of which were children and women, many of which were launched also only partially loaded. That's another problem that they were having with getting people into getting people into these lifeboats was no one was filling them up. I mean, let's say, come on, fill this boat up. You got to fill the next boat. Not everybody's trying to get in. There's not, you have to fill them up though. They're saying that they were partially filled. So people weren't getting in the boats and they weren't, maybe some people were like, fuck it. They didn't take it serious. I mean, shit, I would have been first on that I would have been first on there. Okay. By 2:20 a.m., the giant ship broke apart and foundered with over 1,000 people still on board. Just under 2 hours after the sinking, the Titanic arrived. Well, the Titanic sunk, but the RMS Carpathia arrived, bringing aboard 705 survivors. And only imagining that the rest of my friends had gone into the sea. And thinking about that is very sad. And yeah, guys, it's a little bit about the Titanic. You guys are joining in Vinny's talk. We talk a lot about the Titanic on this channel. You know what I mean? And going from just learning about all the different aspects about could have been better efforts to make more lifeboats available to the people that were on board. And like I said, reading articles of they didn't want they didn't want these lifeboats, or supposedly reading articles of they didn't want lifeboats on the ship because they wanted the ship to move faster. They wanted to get certain locations by certain times, or just make the ship faster by not having all this other weight necessarily on the ship. And by having less lifeboats would somehow make it better, faster. I mean, that's here nor there, but I'm just saying, like, that's speculation. We hear a lot of different sides people have to saying that. I mean, personally, I don't know even if they did have less lifeboats, and maybe because there would be less weight, the ship would move faster. But still, now that we know that there is so much other safety that's involved in keeping the ships very safe, especially something like as big as the Titanic was. You know what I mean? But to me, that's just very crazy. To want to change, like, just want to change, like, to feel safe. Like, fuck that, dude. Like, we want them. Like, give me all the lifeboats you can. You know what I mean? Like, I need every one of them bitches on here. So, like I said, we learn something new every day. We learn something new about the Titanic. We learn something new about the story, the survivors. Every year, man, I learned something new. but the timing and everything, man. When does the sun come out in this state? They should call Illinois State, right? They should call Illinois State the cloudy state because it seems like we never get sun in Illinois. Well, I can't say that because we do get sunny days, but not like Arizona. You know, I feel like Arizona, if anything, the most sun, the best places to get the best sun is Arizona and Florida. I mean, Florida is always hot. Don't get me wrong, I love here in Chicago, but the weather here, guys, the weather, it's not that great. But what do you want from me? It's Vinny's Talk. We're live. I think we're about an hour in. We're talking weather. We're talking the Titanic. We're talking whatever, man. It's the podcast. You know what I'm saying? There's not too many people in here, but so what? We still do our thing. We're still on alive, man. We're hoping and praying we get at least some 60s coming up with the weather. Maybe a 50-degree day. I think. Let's see the weather. Take a look at the weather here. Let's see. Oh, today is a high of 42. Drizzle. They said we might get some rain. Now, I don't know if we're supposed to get snow. I hope we don't get snow, guys. No snow. It's been raining for the last 3 or 4 days. Not much sun. It's kind of terrible. Um, Tomorrow's supposed to snow, and that sucks because tomorrow's Friday. It's Friday tomorrow. You know, today's Thursday, and it's rainy. It's cold, and they're saying tomorrow's supposed to snow. And I guess the only day we're supposed to get that's supposed to be like 54 on Sunday. We'll see the sun comes out, and then we're gonna have to wait probably another week. I think we're gonna start to get nice weather come Easter, or maybe before Easter we'll get a couple nice days. Hopefully by Easter we'll have a nice, we'll get some nice sunny days. We go outside, ride the bike, go for a little walk. You know what I mean? Get some water. Some water. All right, Vinny's back. Unedited, man. This is Vinny's Talk Unedited. We're on the live right now. And we're talking right now, before we were talking about the Titanic. Right now we're talking about the weather and how the weather's been. The weather hasn't been that great. But I have a feeling, guys, y'all, that the weather will change in the next probably 6 days. We're going to get here in Illinois, Chicago land area. I think, let's say at least 4 or 5 more days of kind of like rainy crap. And then I think by next Thursday we'll be in 59, close to 60 degrees. And by Easter, I think we'll have a nice day. But even by this Sunday, we might get a nice day, like 54, 55. So far, the weather hasn't been cooperating with us, but I just see it happening, man. I see God being nice to us. We say our prayers, we're doing good. That we'll get a nice day. We'll get a 50-degree day, hopefully by even this Sunday. And then Monday, 63, 50% rain. Tuesday, 65 degrees, but freaking 60% rain. Wednesday, 70 degrees, 70% rain. What the fuck, dude? Can I get 1 or 2 nice days next week? No, they gave me one. They gave me 1 day, Sunday, 54. Really? Like I said, Easter's gonna be beautiful. Probably. I'm already looking at it. It looks good. So But I also see that I was also looking at the map down south and like Tennessee and Georgia, they were getting really bad thunderstorms and stuff, right? I mean, that's what I seen looking on the weather. I was like, whoa, that was a lot of thunderstorms, a lot of different. See, the weather's not really. I feel like in Chicago and Illinois, our summers are very timeable, like short, and you guys know that. But it truly doesn't start to get really warm until like June. I mean, yeah, May gets a little warm. Don't get me wrong. We got beautiful days in April and May, but like when it gets hot, it gets fucking like humid. And like people are like, oh, I like the humidity. I like it. Nah. When you've been to like the desert, like I always talk about this because I feel like the humidity is definitely way more. I don't know, dude. I don't like the humidity. Chicago, we got like a love hate relationship. You know what I'm saying? But Arizona, man, I love Arizona because Arizona is like the dry heat. Love the sunsets are very. They're more like more beautiful somehow. They're just like the sunset off the mountains, and then like a sunset in here. Like, don't get me wrong, man. Illinois got beautiful sunsets too, but hopefully get a nice day here soon, man. I've been on the podcast almost an hour and 20. What more do you want from me? Maybe we'll talk for a few more minutes, and then I'm gonna sign off. Usually don't do so long with doing the podcast. You know what I'm saying? But why not? It's two. Was it 2:55? My laptop says 2:57. You know, um, another thing I wanted to say is that the weather is constantly changing. Even in the summer, um, in Chicago, we get a nice day, like we'll get a sunny day. We won't get every day like 6 or 7 days out the week where every day is sunny. Like in Arizona, it feels like it never rains. Like I don't know if the weather changes that much in Arizona. It just pretty much stays the same. I mean, yeah, it changes, but not like here, dude. Like here is like, man, it just right now it's just like stays the same, like cold, rainy. Hopefully that we can shake that soon. Like I said, by Easter, whoop de doo, we'll be back out there and get ready to enjoy nature. Um, I like hiking when it's cold too, but I think I had my fair share of hiking, especially like in the snow. You know, I've done my fair share of hiking in the snow, so now I'm kind of ready for that. I'm ready for that summer hike and summer vids, summer podcast. You know what I'm saying on Vinny's Talk because there's nothing like warmer weather. Before when you're when it's cold, you don't really feel like doing much. Even when I do my podcast, I'm just like, I always look outside and I'm just like, oh man, I feel like if the weather's not nice, then your vibe's off a little bit. You want your vibe to be like on point. Like you want it to be um like, dude, I want my vibe like the sun. The sun's always having a good vibe, especially when it's out. You know what I mean? Um the last couple years, I haven't really been like drinking that much. Just smoking the herbs, you know what I'm saying? Um, but in the summertime, I do tend to like when the sun's out, have a couple brews. I mean, that's a little different. Um, Now before I used to drink more than I should, but now that I tend not to drink as much, which is a good thing. But I do enjoy a couple beers every once in a while in the summer. Get a little buzz on, you know what I mean? In the summertime, you got to drink a couple beers after hard days out there working, cutting grass. You know what I'm saying? Doing all that weed whacking and shit. chopping all that wood. Because we out there chopping wood, boy. I'll be out there. I'm saying I'll be out there chopping that wood. We got an hour and 20 minutes. We talked about the Titanic. We talked about some of the survivors. Don't forget to like this video, guys. Don't forget to hit that like button. Hit that notification bell for all my uploads. And thank you guys for joining all my podcasts. Appreciate that. And I want you guys to stay tuned. Next week, we're dropping the 110th year anniversary of the Titanic. So you guys be on the lookout for that. That's going to be freaking awesome, dude. It's going to be a pretty cool thing that I put together. More cool podcasts coming up, man, for the summertime. And probably not going to be doing too many more lives. I'll still do lives, but when I like to do my uploads for the nature stuff, so I'll probably be doing that. But thank you guys for joining the podcast today, man. It's been an episode of Vinnies Talk, man. Thank you guys for joining. And until the next time, man, you guys know what to do. Peace out. Oh, yeah. Peace out, y'all.